The human soldier drifted in the endless dark void. His ship was broken, systems were failing, and the stars around him felt cold and empty. Every light on the control screen blinked red, showing warnings he already knew. Oxygen was running out, power was almost gone, and he had no contact with his fleet. He was the last survivor of a great battle, or maybe just a ghost waiting for silence. The soldier looked out the cracked glass of the cockpit. He saw nothing but shadows of dead ships floating far away. Some were human, most were alien, all destroyed in fire and war. The silence pressed on him like a heavy blanket. He whispered to himself, not to go mad. Hold on, just hold on. Maybe someone will hear. But no one answered. Not the fleet, not his commanders, not even a simple distress signal. The void was empty, and the human was alone. Or so he thought. A faint signal appeared on the scanner. At first he thought it was only static, a broken echo. But then the signal grew stronger, and he saw a small craft drifting close. It was alien in design, sharp wings, glowing symbols, leaking strange energy. It was broken like his own ship, damaged from the battle but still alive. His heart raced, because if it was an enemy, he had no way to fight. He only had a choice to hide or to face whatever came. The craft slowly turned as if pulled by invisible threads of fate. It came closer until their ships almost touched. The soldier took a deep breath and opened a docking line. His suit was heavy, air tanks low, but he pushed forward. The corridor smelled of smoke and strange chemicals. Inside, the alien ship was dark. Only faint blue lights glowed on the walls. He heard the sound of someone breathing, soft, weak, and afraid. In the corner, hidden under broken panels, a figure shivered. It was a young alien woman, her skin pale silver, her eyes bright and glowing like stars. She looked fragile, yet there was a strange strength in her gaze. Her body shook with cold. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Act like I'm your wife." The human froze. He thought maybe he had lost his mind, maybe the lack of oxygen was making him see ghosts. But her eyes were real. Her fear was real. Her voice was real. She pulled his arm with desperate strength and repeated, "Please act like I'm your wife. They are hunting me." The human soldier did not understand. Why would an alien ask a human for such a strange request? But before he could ask, the scanners on her ship screamed. Multiple enemy signals were closing in. Hunters searching the wreckage. The alien woman grabbed his hand, her voice low and urgent. "If they find me, I die. If they see me with you, they will not scan. They cannot track humans the same way." The soldier's chest tightened. His mind told him to run, to hide, to save what little life he had left. But her eyes begged for trust, and he could not turn away. He nodded slowly. "All right, I will play your husband." Alarms echoed through the ship as the hunters drew near. Red light flashed through the cracks of the broken walls. The woman clung to him, trembling, whispering words in her alien tongue mixed with broken human speech. To the hunters outside, they looked like a pair of survivors, holding each other in the void. The patrol scanned, lights sweeping, but then passed without a fight. For a moment silence returned, broken only by the sound of her shaking breath. The human soldier pulled her to the cockpit. He saw how weak she was, how her hands trembled as she tried to work the controls. Her ship was nearly dead, just like his, but maybe together they could make one whole. She looked at him with tired eyes and whispered again, softer this time. "Thank you, husband." He did not answer, only stared at the dark stars ahead. The battle had left him broken, alone, and lost. But now he was not alone anymore. A strange bond had been forced upon him, a dangerous bond that could mean death or survival. The human soldier did not know her name, did not know her story, did not know why she had chosen him, but deep inside he felt something he had not felt since the war began. Hope, in the silent dark void, hunted by enemies and trapped in dying ships. The journey of a human soldier and an alien woman pretending to be his wife had just begun. The alien woman sat quietly in the co-pilot seat, her glowing eyes fixed on the dark screen. The human soldier worked fast, moving between broken panels and cracked wires, trying to bring the ship to life. Every second felt heavy, because outside in the void, danger was moving closer. The hunters were not gone. They were searching, scanning, waiting for a mistake. The woman whispered, her voice trembling but sharp. "We must stay hidden. If they see my signal, we both die." The soldier looked at her, sweat running down his face inside the helmet. He had many questions, but none of them mattered now. The first rule of survival was simple. Live now, ask later. He tapped the controls, rerouting energy from life support to the engine. The lights flickered. The ship shook and then the scanner beeped. 5 enemy ships appeared on the radar, closing in slowly like wolves circling prey. The alien woman grabbed his arm, her nails sharp against the suit. "They will not stop. They hunt until nothing is left," she said. Her voice carried a strange weight, as if she had seen them kill many times before. The soldier forced calm into his voice. "Then we make them think nothing is here." He shut down the main power, leaving only the smallest pulse of energy. The cockpit fell into near darkness. Only faint blue light from the alien walls glowed on their faces. The ship floated dead, as if abandoned. Outside, the hunters' lights swept across the void, beams of red scanning through the broken wreckage of war. The soldier's heart pounded, his breath shallow, his hand resting on the alien woman's shoulder to keep her still. Every sound felt too loud, even the beat of his heart. The hunters moved closer, one ship sliding right above them. For a moment, red light filled the cockpit, painting them in blood color. The alien woman pressed her head against his chest, whispering so quietly only he could hear, "Stay, husband, stay strong." He froze, his body stiff, but he kept his arm around her, like a real embrace. The hunters scanned, paused, then drifted away, fooled by the silence of their ship. The moment they passed, the woman let out a broken breath, almost a sob. But the relief did not last long. The radar blinked again. 2 hunters had stopped nearby. "They are suspicious," she said with fear. "They will search longer." The soldier knew she was right. Hiding would not save them forever. He needed a plan, something bold, something human. He studied the wreckage outside, dead ships floating like bones. A thought came to him, a dangerous one. "But maybe their only chance," he whispered to her. "We will use the graveyard." She frowned, not understanding, but he began moving, powering up the thrusters in short bursts. The small ship drifted into a field of destroyed battleships, slipping between broken metal and shattered engines. The hunters followed, but their scanners grew confused in the wreckage. Every piece of twisted steel reflected signals. Every broken weapon gave false echoes. Still, the hunters did not give up. One ship broke off, diving into the wreckage, searching carefully. The woman's hand trembled on the console, her voice soft. "Why are you helping me, human? You could leave me, save yourself." The soldier kept his eyes on the radar, his jaw tight. "Because I could not live with myself if I abandoned someone hunted like an animal." She turned her glowing eyes to him, studying his face as if she did not believe such words could exist. The hunters drew closer again, and the soldier acted. He powered up the thrusters and pushed the ship into a massive broken cruiser, sliding inside the hollow skeleton of the wreck. Metal scraped, sparks flew, but they hid deep inside the shadow of death. The hunters passed, lights sweeping, but still could not see them. Silence fell once more, broken only by their fast breathing. In that silence, the woman spoke, her voice low and heavy with truth. "They will not stop. Even if we hide 1,000 times, they want me dead because of who I am." The soldier turned to her. "Then you better tell me who you are, wife." Her eyes glowed brighter, and for a moment he saw not fear but pride. "I am not only hunted, I am heir to a throne. My people want me gone because I stand against them. And now, you are in my war." The soldier leaned back, letting her words sink in. He had saved her, protected her. But now he was part of something far bigger than survival. The hunters outside were not just enemies. They were the shadow of an empire chasing its own princess. And he, a lone human soldier, had just become her shield. In the dark void, hunted and trapped, a strange truth began to grow between them. The human was no longer just pretending, and the alien woman was no longer just hiding. Together, they were bound by fear, by survival, and by a fragile spark of trust. The hunters were still near, their shadows heavy. But for the first time, the soldier felt that maybe the void was not only death. Maybe it was the beginning of something no hunter could ever destroy. The wrecked cruiser around them groaned as pieces of metal drifted away into the void. The soldier sat in the pilot chair, his eyes locked on the radar, watching the hunters slowly scatter and pull back. It was not victory, only a pause, the kind of silence that comes before another storm. The alien woman sat beside him, her silver skin faintly glowing in the dark light, her hands folded tightly as if she held on to something more fragile than life. She spoke at last, her voice steady but soft. "You saved me again, human. But you do not know why they chase me." The soldier glanced at her, his expression cold and guarded. "Then tell me. I am already risking my life. I deserve the truth." Her glowing eyes searched his face as if testing him. Then she gave a long breath. "My people call me Kayla." The name floated in the silence, strange and beautiful. The soldier said nothing, so she continued. "I was born into the ruling bloodline. My father commands fleets. My people bow to the throne, but I do not agree with what they have become." Her words carried bitterness like fire hidden under calm water. She leaned closer, whispering as if the hunters could still hear her through the steel walls. "They enslave weaker worlds. They crush voices that ask for freedom. They kill anyone who dares to question them. I spoke against them. I swore to break their chains, and for that, they marked me for death." The soldier's hands tightened on the console. He had fought in battles, seen worlds burn, watched comrades fall. But hearing her words stirred something deeper. "You are saying your own people want you dead," he said slowly. Kayla nodded, her silver hair drifting like smoke in the weightless air. "My family, my blood, they fear me more than any enemy. So they sent hunters, assassins, ships that will never stop until I am erased." The soldier stared at her, feeling a strange anger rise in his chest. "You are royalty, yet you sit here shivering, hunted like prey." She gave a sad smile, one that seemed older than her years. "In my world, blood does not protect. Only power does. And I chose the side of those without power." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the hum of broken systems. For the first time, the soldier saw not just an alien woman, but a fighter who had lost everything. Still, one question burned in his mind. "Why me, Kayla? Why tell me to act like your husband?" Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting the faint lights. "Because the hunters cannot track humans the same way. Your kind is rare in this region of space. Our scanners are not built for your biology. If I stayed alone, they would find me, but with you, I am hidden." She lowered her head slightly, her voice breaking. "I did not choose you because of fate. I chose you because you were my only chance." The soldier's jaw tightened, her honesty cutting deeper than a lie would have. He wanted to be angry, to push her away. But he saw the tremor in her hands, the weariness in her eyes. She was not only using him, she was also clinging to him, because he was the only one left who would listen. The soldier let out a breath, his voice rough but calm. "Then listen, Kayla, if you stay with me, you follow my rules, I will help you, but I will not be dragged into your throne wars without choice." Kayla's lips parted as if to argue, but then she nodded slowly. "Agreed, husband," she whispered, the word carrying a strange weight again. "Not only pretend this time." The soldier did not reply, but his eyes softened for a moment before turning back to the radar. The hunters were still out there, their shadows moving across the void. The soldier knew the silence would not last. They would come again, harder, stronger, hungrier. But inside the broken ship, a fragile alliance had been born. He did not trust her fully, but he felt something shifting inside him, something dangerous. He remembered her words about freedom, about standing against her own people, and for a brief moment, he wondered if maybe this hunted alien princess had more courage than the kings and generals he had served. Kayla sat back, her body trembling with exhaustion, yet her eyes never left him. She studied this human soldier, broken yet unbroken, weak in body, but strong in will. For the first time since her escape, she felt less like prey and more like a warrior who might still fight. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "Perhaps the void brought us together for more than survival." The soldier did not answer, his focus still on the scanners, but deep inside, he felt her words sink into him like seeds in dark soil. He had lost his fleet, his world, his command. Yet sitting beside this hunted princess, he felt the beginning of something new, something he could not name yet, but it stirred like fire beneath ash. The hunters would return, and when they did, both human and alien would face them together, not as strangers, not as prey, but as something more. The ship drifted quietly through the wreckage of the battle, a ghost among other ghosts. The human soldier worked with steady hands, pulling wires, sealing leaks, patching holes in the alien craft. Kayla watched him, her silver eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Neither of them spoke for a long time, the silence heavy but not empty. It was the silence of two strangers forced together, learning how to breathe the same air. The soldier muttered as sparks jumped from a broken panel. "This system is nothing like human tech, but I'll make it work." Kayla tilted her head, curiosity mixing with fatigue. "You learn fast, husband," she whispered, the word carrying both irony and warmth. He looked at her, his brow furrowed. "Don't call me that unless you have to." She smiled faintly. "Then I will only say it when the hunters come close." For hours they worked side by side, repairing what they could, improvising with scraps from destroyed ships. Sometimes her hands guided his when he did not understand her technology. Other times his soldier's instinct found ways to turn broken parts into weapons. Every small success bound them closer, not by choice but by survival. The soldier felt her shoulder brush against his arm more than once, light touches that reminded him she was real, alive, not just another shadow in the void. When they paused to rest, Kayla sat against the wall, her chest rising and falling with tired breaths. She stared at him for a long moment, then asked quietly, "Do humans always fight for others, even when they have nothing to gain?" The soldier wiped sweat from his brow, his voice low. "Not always. Most fight for orders, for survival, for their own kind, but sometimes we fight because it feels right." Kayla's eyes softened, her voice almost a whisper. "That is why I chose you. Even before I knew your name." The soldier felt a strange unease in his chest. He was not used to such words, not used to being more than a soldier. He turned his gaze away, focusing on the broken controls. "We are not safe yet. Don't mistake survival for destiny." But her quiet smile lingered, as if she heard something in his words that he refused to admit. Later, when the scanners beeped again, their bodies froze. Two hunter ships drifted near, searching silent predators. Kayla leaned closer, her voice barely a breath. "Remember, husband." She pressed her forehead against his shoulder, her body trembling. The soldier wrapped his arm around her, holding her close as if she truly belonged to him. For a moment, he forgot it was only pretend, his heart beating too hard against his chest. The hunters scanned, their red beams cutting through the wreckage, then passed without firing, fooled again by the illusion of love. When the danger passed, Kayla did not pull away immediately. Her voice was soft, almost vulnerable. "You hold me like you mean it." The soldier's jaw tightened. "Don't read into it," he said roughly. But even he knew his grip had been more than an act. For a long moment, silence returned, but now it was filled with something unspoken, a bond that grew in the shadows, neither chosen nor denied, as they drifted deeper into the void. Kayla shared more of her world. She told him about the markets of her city, where the air smelled of fire fruit and glowing rivers. She spoke of her people's songs, the way they carried across the night sky. Her words painted pictures of a place both beautiful and cruel. The soldier listened quietly, imagining a world far brighter than the battlefield he had always known. In return, he told her about Earth, about green forests, wide oceans, skies filled with birds. He spoke of laughter in the barracks, of music that soldiers played before battle. His voice softened as he remembered, and for the first time Kayla laughed, a light sound that seemed to push the darkness away. It was not the laugh of a princess, not the laugh of someone hunted, but the laugh of someone alive. The soldier found himself smiling, though he quickly looked away. Hours passed like that. Stories traded, repairs made, silence broken by moments of fragile warmth. Yet always the shadow of hunters lingered, their presence pressing on the edges of thought. Kayla grew quiet again, her head leaning back, her voice soft as sleep pulled at her. "If we live through this, maybe I will not pretend anymore," she whispered. The soldier did not answer, only tightened a loose wire with his tool, but his chest felt heavy with her words. He knew bonds formed in war were dangerous, fragile, and often ended in blood, but deep inside, he also knew this bond was already growing, whether he wanted it or not. As the ship drifted deeper into the dark, the human soldier and the alien princess sat side by side, bound by silence, bound by survival, bound by something unspoken that neither could deny. The hunters were still searching. The Empire still wanted her dead. But in that quiet corner of the void, two broken souls found something stronger than fear. A silent bond that would decide not only their survival, but perhaps the fate of worlds. The ship floated in uneasy silence, patched together by desperate repairs, drifting further from the graveyard of wrecks. The human soldier sat at the console, eyes fixed on the scanner. His jaw tight, his mind restless. Kayla sat near him, her silver eyes watching him quietly, her hands folded in her lap. For a time nothing was said, but the silence carried weight, heavy and sharp like a blade between them. The radar blinked suddenly, a soft pulse echoing across the dark. The soldier leaned forward, frowning. "Another signal," he muttered. "It's faint." "But it's following us," Kayla stiffened, her body tense. "It cannot be. We masked the ship. They should not find us so fast." But the signal grew stronger, pulsing in rhythm, steady, deliberate, like footsteps in the void. The soldier turned his head slowly toward her, suspicion burning in his eyes. "You said they cannot track us if you stay with me," he said coldly. "But somehow they are still here." Kayla's breath caught, her glowing eyes wide. "I told you the truth," she whispered. "I would not betray you," but his voice grew harder, sharper. "Wouldn't you? You are royalty. You are hunted by your own blood. Maybe you sent the signal yourself. Maybe this was your plan from the beginning." Her face twisted with pain, her voice shaking. "If I wanted you dead, I would have left you to die in your broken ship. I would not be here now." The soldier looked away, his chest burning with anger and doubt. He had lost too many comrades to lies, to betrayals hidden in soft words. He could not afford to trust blindly, not now, not with death so close. "Then explain the signal," he growled, "because it looks like you brought them straight to us." Kayla rose to her feet, her hands trembling, her voice breaking with emotion. "I swear by the stars of my world, I did not call them, but my blood carries a mark, a code burned into me since birth. They can track me no matter where I run." She pressed her hand against her chest, her eyes glowing brighter. "I did not choose it, it was forced on me. That is why I needed you. Your presence blinds their scanners for a time, but the mark, it still pulls them." The soldier's anger faltered, but mistrust lingered like poison in his veins. He wanted to believe her, yet every word could be a carefully spun web. He stood facing her, his voice low and cold. "If you are lying, I will not hesitate to end this. Do you understand?" Kayla's eyes filled with hurt, but she did not back away. "I understand, husband, but I have spoken only truth." The radar beeped louder now, the hunters closing in fast. The soldier turned back to the console, his hands moving with sharp precision, setting power to weapons, redirecting what little energy remained to the shields. Kayla moved to help, her fingers flying across alien controls, but he stopped her with a glare. "Sit back," he said. "I don't trust your hands near my ship's heart." Her lips trembled, but she obeyed, sinking back into her seat, her voice breaking. "Then fight without me. and see if you survive. Outside, red light filled the void. Hunters surrounding them on all sides. The ship shook violently as scanners pierced through the darkness. Locking onto their position, the soldier's eyes narrowed. His hand steady, ready for battle, Kayla watched him, her heart torn, knowing she had spoken truth yet powerless to make him believe. The hunters fired a warning shot, energy slicing across the void, missing their hull by inches. The soldier gritted his teeth, whispering under his breath, "If this is your betrayal, it ends here." He pulled the trigger, firing back with a blast of stolen alien energy. The void lit with sudden fire. Kayla cried out, "No, you cannot fight them all." "Not alone." She rose despite his warning, her hands pressing against the console, entering codes he did not understand. The ship's systems roared, hidden power coming alive. The soldier turned to her, fury in his eyes. "What are you doing?" Her gaze met his, fierce and unbroken. "Saving you. Even if you hate me." The ship surged forward, weapons blazing, shields sparking, their small craft turning into a storm of desperate resistance. The hunters pressed closer, firing in unison, shaking the vessel with every blast. The soldier and Kayla fought side by side, their movements chaotic but powerful. Every strike they landed together felt like proof that betrayal was not her path, proof that she stood with him, not against him. Still, doubt lingered in his chest. Even as fire and light filled the void, but deep inside, a part of him could not ignore the truth in her eyes. She could have let him die, she could have abandoned him. But instead she fought, she risked everything. Her voice cut through the chaos, strong and defiant. "Husband, if you cannot trust my words, then trust my actions. I will not betray you, not now, not ever." The ship rocked violently, alarms screaming, hunters closing in from every side. The soldier gritted his teeth, his anger mixing with respect, with something deeper he did not want to name. He shouted back, "Then prove it. Kayla, prove it here in this fire." And together, they faced the hunter's storm, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as two souls bound by battle. The ship shook like a dying beast, metal groaning under the hunter's endless fire. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the soldier gripped the controls, his eyes sharp, his jaw set like stone. Kayla stood beside him, her silver eyes blazing, her hands moving across the alien systems with a speed he could barely follow. They were surrounded on every side, crimson ships circling like wolves, their weapons flashing bright in the black void. "Shields at 20%, Kayla said, her voice strained but steady. "Then we make them count," the soldier growled, pulling the trigger again, his cannon spitting fire into the endless dark. One hunter ship exploded, shards scattering like sparks across the void. But for each one destroyed, two more took its place. The battle was hopeless, and yet neither of them stepped back. The hunters spoke over the comms, their voices harsh, sharp like broken glass. "Return the princess, human, and we will let you live." The soldier spat blood onto the floor, his lips curling in defiance. "Not a chance," he muttered, his finger tight on the trigger. Kayla's gaze softened, her voice quiet but strong. "You risk everything for me, why?" He did not look at her, his eyes fixed on the enemy. "Because they don't get to decide who lives and who dies. Not today." The ship lurched violently as another blast tore into its side, alarms screaming, lights flickering. Kayla's hands danced across the console, unlocking hidden reserves of power. Her voice urgent. "There is one last system, a forbidden weapon, but if I use it, this ship will not survive." The soldier turned sharply toward her, his eyes wide with fury. "You kept that from me." She held his gaze, fearless. "Would you have used it earlier, knowing it would kill us both?" He clenched his teeth, torn between rage and need. "Show me." She pressed her palm against a glowing panel, and the floor beneath them hummed with raw energy. A weapon of impossible scale woke from its slumber, a beam forged not of fire but of pure collapsing light. The ship trembled, its structure cracking under the strain. Warning signs flashing red across every screen, Kayla whispered, almost like a prayer. "This is our last stand." The hunters sensed the change, their voices rising with urgency. "Destroy them now," their leader barked. "Before the weapon is charged." Dozens of ships swarmed closer, firing in unison, turning the void into a storm of burning light. The soldier braced himself, his hand steady on the controls. "If this kills us, then let's make it worth it." Kayla's voice trembled, but not with fear, with strength. "Together." "Husband." Their hands met for an instant over the console. A brief moment of unity before the storm, the weapon charged, the light blinding. Filling the cabin with brilliance, the ship screamed as if alive, as if it too understood the weight of the choice. The hunters closed in, their guns tearing into the weakened shields, the hull cracking, the soldiers' knuckles white on the trigger. Kayla shouted, her voice rising above the alarms. Now! The soldier slammed his hand down on the release. The beam erupted, a column of white fire stretching into the abyss. Hunter ships dissolved instantly, their forms erased in silence, swallowed by the light. The void shook, space itself bending, time twisting as the weapon unleashed all it had. For a heartbeat, the universe went still, empty, silent, pure. Then the ship collapsed inward, its core shattering under the strain. The soldier's chest slammed against the controls. His breath ripped from him. Kayla staggered, her glowing eyes dimming, her hands gripping the console to stay standing. Alarms wailed, the oxygen falling, systems failing, the ship becoming a coffin in the cold dark. But around them, the hunters were gone. Nothing left but drifting ash and fading sparks. They had won, but at the cost of everything. The soldier coughed, his voice ragged. You should have told me sooner. Kayla smiled weakly, her voice faint. You would not have listened. The cabin shook one last time as the ship broke apart, chunks of metal tearing free into the void. A breach opened, air hissing out, the stars pulling at them with hungry hands. The soldier reached for Kayla, his hand grasping hers, his voice fierce. Hold on. We're not done yet. Kayla's eyes glowed faintly, her lips whispering, then guide me, husband. Guide me out of this death. Together they stumbled toward the emergency pod, the last escape hidden within the dying ship. The soldier forced the door open with his bare hands, sparks slicing his arms, but he did not let go of her. They threw themselves inside, the pod sealing just as the ship tore apart behind them. A final explosion filled the void, brighter than a star. Then silence returned, endless and cold. The pod drifted powerless, lost in the infinite dark. The soldier lay back, breathing hard. His hand still clutching hers, Kayla rested against him, her eyes half closed but alive. Whispering, we stood, we did not bend, and now, we still breathe. He closed his eyes, his voice low. For now, and so the void was quiet again, the storm passed, leaving only two souls adrift in its endless sea, bound together by fire, betrayal, and the choice to stand when all hope was gone. The escape pod floated like a grain of dust in the endless sea of stars. Inside, silence reigned except for the soft hum of life support barely holding. The soldier sat slumped against the wall, blood drying on his face, his hands still locked tightly around Kayla's. She leaned weakly on his shoulder, her silver eyes dim but alive, her breath shallow yet steady. For the first time since the battle began, there was no fire, no alarms, no hunters, only quiet. The soldier closed his eyes, letting the weight of exhaustion crash down, but even then his grip never loosened. He whispered into the still air, almost to himself. We should be dead. Kayla's lips curved in a faint smile, her voice soft as starlight. Yet here we are. Husband, the word still felt strange to him. Not a lie, not fully the truth, but something between. He had agreed to play her husband only to save her life. But somewhere along the void, the act had turned into something else, something neither of them dared to name. The soldier looked at her, at the lines of fatigue on her alien face, and felt a quiet respect. She was no fragile prisoner, no helpless soul, but a fighter who had stood beside him in the storm. The pod drifted through the void, powerless, its navigation dead. Every passing hour made their survival less likely, but even as the stars remained cold, the bond between them grew warm. They spoke in whispers, trading fragments of their past. He told her of Earth, of green forests and blue skies, of the laughter of children and the sound of rain. She told him of her world, of silver cities that floated in the clouds, of songs sung beneath crystal moons, of a kingdom now shattered by war. For a moment it felt as if the war was far away, as if they were simply two souls sharing stories. But the truth pressed against them like a cold blade. They were running out of time. The soldier tried again to fix the controls, his hands steady despite his exhaustion. Wires sparked, screens flickered, but the pod refused to respond. Kayla placed her hand on his, stopping him. You cannot fight broken metal with broken hands, rest, he wanted to argue. But the look in her eyes silenced him, so he sat back, his chest rising and falling in slow, heavy breaths. Silence stretched again until Kayla whispered, Why did you not give me to them? You would have lived. The soldier stared into the void outside, his jaw tight. Because life without honor is not living. Because they would have killed you and maybe part of me too. Her lips trembled, and she pressed her forehead lightly to his shoulder. You are strange, human, and yet I am glad it was you. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time lost meaning in the void. Then a faint sound broke the silence, a distant signal, weak but real. The soldier sat up, his eyes sharp again. A beacon? Kayla leaned forward, her breath catching. Rescue. He tapped the console, amplifying the signal, and for the first time in endless hours, hope flickered like fire in the dark. The beacon grew stronger, a ship approaching, but neither of them knew if it was friend or foe. The soldier readied himself, his hand on the small weapon at his side, his other hand gripping Kayla's. She looked at him, calm despite the danger, and whispered, If it is enemy, we face it together. If it is ally, we live together. He nodded once, his voice low. Together. The pod shook as the larger ship locked on, pulling them in with a tractor beam. The air grew tense, every breath heavy, every second stretched thin. The hatch opened, light spilling inside, and figures stepped through. Armored and armed, the soldier braced himself. Kyla straightened her back, their hands still linked. Then a voice rang out. Human, strong and clear. Survivors, we've got survivors. The soldier's heart pounded as recognition hit him. It was his fleet, scattered but not destroyed. Kayla's eyes widened in disbelief. Your people. He turned to her with a rare smile, small but real. Our people. If you want it that way. The soldiers rushed forward, lifting them from the pod, treating their wounds, asking questions, but through it all the human and the alien never let go of each other's hands. In the chaos of rescue, in the noise of voices, they stood as one, bound by what they had endured. Later, as the ship carried them away from the graveyard of wreckage, the soldier stood at the viewing window, Kayla beside him. The stars stretched endless before them, full of danger, but also full of new beginnings. She whispered almost to herself, They will hunt me still. My enemies will not stop. He placed his arm lightly around her shoulders, his voice steady. Then let them come. They'll find us ready. For the first time in a long time, she smiled without fear, and for the first time since the war began, he felt more than duty, more than survival. He felt the spark of something worth living for. Together they had survived the dark void. Together they had faced the hunters, and together they would face whatever came next. The story of a soldier and a princess had not ended in the silence of space. It had only just begun.